Okay, I'm going to talk more about water quantity rather than water quality. And although it's raining today, we live in an arid west, and that's mostly what our emphasis has been in developing a program is try to get people to use plants that are more water, use less water than what you typically find um, in a landscape, especially in Utah. And this is where our emphasis has been, but all along the mountain west here, we have this same problem. So the Botanical Center, and Dave, who's going to follow me, will talk a little bit more about this as well, a little bit more about we do some work with quality as well. But we have a Botanical Center, it's about 100 acres, and part of our mission is to direct the wise use of water as well as other natural resources. And at the Botanical Center, we also have, it falls under the extension arm of the university, which means that we have the assignment to take research-based information out to the public, out to the people, and help teach them, as well as have a botanical center and a botanical garden that teaches about plant materials and other natural resources. So what we did a number of years ago is we decided that part of the problem is when you start talking about native plants, especially along the Wasatch Front, our native plants are like grass. And so when we have a lot of people come in and they say, well, I just want to use native plants in my landscape, we tell them, okay, well, that's kind of weeds. And that's what we have. And so you have this connotation in your mind that people will think, native plants, I don't want a native plant landscape, I don't want a water-wise landscape, because they have visions of, bones and dead oxen and things in the landscape and rocks. And so what we tried to do was try to educate people and show them some of the beauties of some of our native plants. When I say our native plants, that's kind of a broad term, because instead of just looking at the valley floor, which a lot of people have a tendency to do, we tried to look at the whole Mountain West. And as most of you know, in the Mountain West, there's a broad range. I mean, we go from peaks of 10,000, 12,000 down to St. George and into Arizona, which is about 1,000 feet above sea level. And so we have a lot of diversity as far as plant material goes and what we would term kind of our native plant selections in our palette. So we started to glean some of these and do some research on some of these native plants. And we decided that we could develop a program, but if we develop a program, it has to have some different parts of it. One part would have to be that it benefits the Botanical Center or the gardens. It would have to benefit the green industry, because if you're going to start selling plants, if there's no benefit for these plants to the green industry and the people that make money off the plants, that's what drives everything, then it's not going to be a benefit to anybody. I mean, you can always sell native plants to 50 people, but that's not the trick. The trick is to try to sell these plants to the masses and try to get them to buy in so that they will eventually reduce their water usage. So it had to be a benefit to the green industry. People had to make money off of it. It has to be a benefit to the public. They have to like the color. I mean, I hate to say it, but if it doesn't look good, I'm not buying it. And if it's not in color when I buy it, if it doesn't look good in the pot, I don't care. And even though we can say all of the virtues of it, I mean, we've done a lot of research on what we call a dwarf rabbit brush. I don't know if anybody knows what rabbit brush is, but when I say we're working on a rabbit brush, to most audiences, they leave, Are you kidding me? But a very small, compact one that looks very good. Anyway, and why did we do this? Because it's part of our directive as well, and because we have that ability. So we developed a plant introduction program, and we figured out that what we wanted to have with the public is we wanted them to have success with the plants, that they grew well, that they looked good. And we wanted them to be able then to go back and buy more of these plants, these drought-tolerant plants. And then we had to have buy-in from the retail. And so from the retail industry, we went to them and we talked to them about it. It has to increase their sales. It has to increase the traffic within their nurseries. It has to be name recognizable. The growers of the plants have to make money as well, not just retail, but the wholesale growers, those that'll do the propagating work and growing, and also increase their sales. And for us at the Botanical Center, it had to be self-sustaining as well. I mean, we talk a lot of times about sustainability in the landscape, or just sustainability in general, but sometimes we forget financial sustainability, that if we can't maintain it, then it doesn't do anybody any good. So it had to be something that we could benefit from so that we could continue to develop this program and grow our plants. So our goal was to develop some research, do some research and develop some plant material that adapts well to the Intermountain area, that fulfilled our mission of the natural resources and promoting wise use of it, that benefited everybody and was aesthetically appealing, sustainable, but aesthetically appealing. And we looked at some criteria as we looked at some of these plants. We had to have, number one, buyer appeal. If people don't want it, people aren't going to buy it, nobody cares. So we had to have something that looked good in the pot, that could be sellable to people when they looked in the nursery. I mean, there's a couple of plants that look fantastic, but you can't grow them in a pot, so nobody buys them. So it has to look good in a pot. It has to have color, and that's what sells, which is a flower. So we looked at the color, the flower, how easily we could reproduce it. In other words, if you can't reproduce it, there's some great plants out there, but I mean, the germination rate is like 2%, or trying to get some softwood or hardwood cuttings is just about impossible. And so you had to have ease of propagation, be able to reproduce it. And then for our sustainability, we also looked at such things as disease resistant, drought tolerance, the things that we talk about that the public doesn't really care about. I hate to say that. I mean, it's important, but in reality, to the masses, you're selling to people. So we have to do the research on what they're going to be tolerant of, and if they're going to survive, and if they're going to be successful for the end user. So this is how we set it up. So we would work with, our part of the deal was we did the research on the plants. We went out and collected plants. We do a lot of in-field collection. We travel around the Intermountain West. We look at vouchers from herbariums, wherever we can, to try to find some of these plants. That we develop a license agreement with the grower, and we provide some marketing as well on our plants, and then we provide the breeding material to the different growers. The growers take that breeding material, they increase the plants. We do the research on how to increase the plants on the germination rates, or best germination practices, basically best practices to increase the production. They also do some marketing. They distribute the plants, and then they will sell the liners and the plugs. The retail market then takes the finished product. They sell the plants. They also do a little bit of marketing. Everybody's involved in that. And then they're selling the finished product and hopefully making money on it as well. And then the customer, what we want from the customer is that they have success in growing the plants. And we want them to feel good about it. I mean, that's a big component. We want happy customers. We want people to like what we're selling, so that they'll come back and they'll continue to buy, and hopefully they'll reduce their water usage, which is the end result of what we're trying to do. So we also looked throughout the world, not just at our native plants, but other areas in the world that have similar climates to what we have, that might be available. We haven't done any of this work yet. We're still trying to talk the administration into supporting a trip to New Zealand maybe, but we'll see how that goes. And so we also had to benefit the collectors. We had to have people out there collecting, not just us. When we go out and we do some collecting, but there are a lot of people out there. So we figured out how to benefit a collector if he knows of a plant, and that we can then work with it and breed it and develop some better qualities with the plant itself. And so we gave him some financial benefits, as well as the plant rights and some recognition. So that's kind of the program in general. What we do is we take the plants, we find them in nature, we collect seed, we collect softwood cuttings, hardwood cuttings, whatever it is. We take them back to the nursery or back to the Botanical Center, and at that point we have about an acre, couple acres of trial gardens that we start to establish them. And every year we try to collect anywhere from 10 to 20 plants, with the knowledge that maybe 1 or 2 of those plants over 3 or 4 years will develop into a plant that we can sell and that we can market and that will be beneficial. And so we just, I'm not going to go into the process, but we eventually try to get to a plant that'll satisfy all of our needs. And a lot of times it never happens. Even though it's a beautiful plant, it'll never do what we want it to. So for instance, Soul Dancer, which we introduced this year, is a Tetranuris. It's native to, there's about 4 different varieties that are out there, but it's basically native to the Intermountain West. And it's on the Kaibab Plateau, which is on the north rim of the Grand Canyon. It was collected in 2004, actually, where we collected the seed. And this is what it looks like in nature. After doing some breeding with it and working with it, this is what we developed, a plant that'll grow in a pot. It'll bloom from May until, mine in my yard is still blooming. It blooms from May until it freezes. In fact, a heavy freeze. It'll still bloom throughout that. So it blooms all year, and that's what people are after, perennials. Looks, as I said, looks good in a pot. And then we start to market it under the name Sago Supreme. That's the general name of our plant introduction program, and this particular plant would be Soul Dancer. And then our second, which is coming out, and we have a number of plants down the pipeline that I won't go into, but I just wanted to briefly show you the idea behind it. This is an Epilobium, which is also called Fire Chalice. It used to be under the genus Zalcenaria. But there's about 4 or 5 varieties and subspecies on it as well. The most common is Gridii, which we have in our arid mountains here. This is what it looks like in a native setting. You look at that and you think, oh my word, nobody's buying that ugly thing, and I would agree. But after doing some breeding with it and working with it, this is what we get. And this plant we've had for about 5 years we've been working on, and we've also done some more breeding with it. Here's another picture of it up close, and it'll be called Wasatch Fire, because this one is native to the Wasatch Mountains here. As you can see, some of the breeding and some of the work we do, and this is a fall bloomer, and it requires, both of these plants require no extra moisture to do what they do. The Soul Dancer will bloom all year without any additional water, and it looks a little bit better if you give it once every couple of weeks some water, and that's usually what we get natively. Some years like this are a little bit drier, but same thing with Wasatch Fire, which this Epilobium will bloom in the fall. It's what people look for in a fall blooming. It also has red foliage in the spring as it first comes out, which is something that we found in one of our, as we did some breeding with it, and we're doing more breeding with it as well. So we work together with not just us at the university saying, this is what we have to do. We collaborate with the industry, and we get the industry to buy in. They sit on our committees, they work with us, and they also do the evaluations with us on the plant material to determine if it looks good, if they think it will sell, and then they'll spend a year with it trying to make sure it looks good in a pot, as do we, which you don't even think about. I mean, if you're a grower, or if you're a homeowner or other things, you don't realize how important some of these little minor details are that we have to go through. But it's a collaborative effort, trying to get these beautiful plants that are sustainable, that are drought tolerant, that'll reduce water usage in the landscapes, and that'll benefit in everyone involved. And so our little catchphrase was, get ready, get set, say go, because it's Sago Select. I know, kind of corny, but that's kind of the way we roll. So, thank you.